Have you ever tried to tickle yourself and felt almost nothing? That tiny failure is actually one of the strangest clues about how your brain works. Because if touch is touch, then why does your own hand feel boring, while someone else's fingers can make you burst into laughter? The answer is not just about skin. It is about prediction. Your brain is not passively waiting for the world to happen to you. It is constantly trying to guess what happens next. Every second, it predicts sights, sounds, movements, and even the feeling of your own body. That is one of the brain's greatest superpowers. It does not just react. It forecasts. So when you move your own hand toward your skin, your brain already knows the plan. It sent the order. It knows the timing. It knows the location. It knows the pressure is coming from you. And because it expects the sensation, it turns down the surprise. That is the key. Self-tickling fails because surprise is missing. Your brain has already prepared for your touch before it arrives, so the sensation gets muted. Not erased. Just reduced. Almost like your brain is saying, "Yes, I know this one, nothing to see here." That is why your own touch usually feels normal, but not funny. Now compare that to someone else tickling you. Their movements are harder to predict. Their timing is less obvious. Their fingers do not follow your internal script. So your brain cannot cancel the sensation in advance. That means the touch feels stronger, stranger, and much more impossible to ignore. And that is when the chaos starts. Your body tenses. Your attention locks in. You squirm. You laugh. You try to escape. Or at least pretend you are not being defeated by a wiggly hand. This is what makes tickling so bizarre. It is not just a skin sensation. It is a prediction failure. Your brain expected one thing and got another. And the brain really does not like that. In neuroscience, this is a big idea. A lot of what we experience is not raw reality. It is reality after the brain has edited it. The brain filters, predicts, smooths, and simplifies almost everything you feel. That saves energy. It keeps you from being overwhelmed by every little sensation. Imagine if you felt every shirt seem like a dramatic event. You would never get through the day. So the brain usually ignores the obvious. But tickling slips into that gap. It sneaks past the prediction system. And once the brain notices the surprise, it cannot relax. That is part of why tickling can feel so intense, even though it is not dangerous. Your nervous system briefly treats it like something important. Not exactly a threat. Not exactly a joke. Something in between. That strange middle zone could be why tickling produces laughter. Laughter is often linked to unexpected, high arousal situations that are not actually harmful. The body is saying, "This is weird. I do not know what to do, but I am still okay." Which is a very human response, honestly. Sometimes laughter is joy. Sometimes laughter is confusion wearing a smile. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. There are different kinds of tickle sensations. One kind is the light, fluttery, feather-like feeling. That one can be ticklish, but it is not always the kind that makes you collapse into chaos. The other kind is the deeper, more forceful kind. The kind that makes you recoil, twist, laugh, and accuse other people of being rude. That second kind is much more tied to the brain's prediction system. It is less about simple touch, more about unpredictability. Because if the brain can accurately guess what is coming, the sensation becomes weaker. But if the touch is irregular, sudden, or hard to forecast, the brain pays far more attention. That is why tickling works better when another person does it. They are less predictable than you are to yourself. Your own body has a kind of internal cheat code. It knows the source of the movement. It compares the expected touch with the actual touch. And when both match, the sensation gets dialed down. This effect is so strong that scientists think the brain is constantly reducing self-generated sensations to keep the world from feeling too noisy. That is actually a brilliant system. Think about it. Every time you walk, your feet hit the ground. Every time you speak, you hear your own voice. Every time you move, your body creates sensations. If all of that felt shocking every single time, your brain would be overloaded. So it uses prediction to ignore what it already understands. This is one reason the brain is such an efficient machine. It does not waste attention on things it can already explain. But tickling reveals the limits of that system. It shows us that attention is not just about intensity. It is about surprise. The brain cares deeply about what it did not expect. That is why an unexpected touch can feel so much stronger than a familiar one. And that is also why we cannot really tickle ourselves in the same way. The brain is too involved. It is not being fooled. It knows the trick. Now, there is also a social layer here, and this part is fascinating. Tickling often happens between people who trust each other. That matters, because tickling is a strange mix of play, surprise, and vulnerability. You are allowing someone else to mess with your nervous system. That sounds less romantic when you say it like that, but it is true. The brain responds differently when touch happens in a safe, playful context. It can become part of social bonding, part joke, part connection, part low-stakes chaos. In other words, tickling is not just a body reflex. It is also a social experience. That should be one reason it shows up so much in childhood play. It creates excitement without real danger. It trains attention. It builds social interaction. And yes, it gives everyone a good excuse to scream laugh for no reason. Still, the brain has a limit. If the touch becomes too predictable, the tickle weakens. If you know exactly where and when it is coming, the effect drops. That is why even with another person, tickling can lose power if the pattern becomes too obvious. Prediction kills the surprise. And surprise is the engine. This is where the brain's behavior becomes almost comically logical. It is not trying to make you miserable. It is trying to keep you efficient. It filters out expected sensations so it can focus on what matters. But in doing that, it also strips the magic out of self-tickling. So your own fingers cannot really fool your own brain. At least, not for long. And honestly, that is a good thing. Imagine if every tiny self-touch felt like an ambush. You would spend all day reacting to yourself. The brain's prediction system keeps that from happening. It is like a built-in editor for your body. And tickling is one of the rare moments where you notice the editing. That is what makes it so fascinating. A simple game becomes a window into neuroscience. A silly reflex becomes evidence that your brain is always guessing. A laugh becomes a clue. So the next time you try to tickle yourself and fail, remember this. You are not bad at tickling. Your brain is just too smart to surprise. It has already predicted the touch, softened the signal, and moved on. And that tiny failure reveals something huge. You do not experience the world exactly as it is. You experience the world after your brain has decided what it should feel like. And sometimes, the brain is so good at predicting you that even your own hands cannot catch it off guard.